Brooke Mathies and her husband Jim were relaxing at the end of a long day when they noticed their 2-year-old son walking around strangely. Unsure what he was doing, they saw he was blue and frothing at the mouth. Their son was choking. Brooke immediately and calmly took control and, using the skills she had learnt just 1 week before, picked him up and began administering back blows. After a few attempts, a cube of ice flew out of his mouth and he began to cry loudly. He could breathe. Brooke always knew first aid skills were important, and that night it was those skills that saved her son's life.
We bought a house in December last year with a pool, and my only thought was, have to go and do first aid course, we have a pool, what if my kids fall in, what if they drown? I didn't even think of the bigger picture. It was February and really hot day. We'd been swimming in the pool, come in for the afternoon, had dinner, and my kids love ice. I got some ice and put it in their cups. They go down and they sit and watch television. My husband and I were sitting out on the veranda, and I happened to look sideways at my son, and he seemed to be having a little bit of trouble standing up. And I said to my husband, I said, oh, he's having a joke and he's being silly. And then he got to the door, the sliding door, and he was blue. And my heart stopped. It didn't occur to me that he was choking until I seriously looked at him and he was foaming at the mouth. And I thought, something's not right. And my husband was the first one to jump up and ran to him in a panic. And my husband picked him up and threw him upside down. And I've said, no, you can't do that. And it just was such a natural thing to kick in. And I said, give him to me. And I laid him over my arm so that his face was in my hand and upward thrust towards his rib cage, so that it actually forces him to try and expel the ice at the time. So he was blue and it just frightened me, something terrible. And after about the 4th back thrust, this large chunk of ice flew out of his mouth and he just inhaled the loudest scream and then just cried and cried. From the time I saw him try and get up from watching television to him standing at the doorway was only probably 20 seconds. And it doesn't seem like a long time, but when you sit there and count to 20, it's a lifetime when you're looking at your small child struggling to breathe. I mean, if I hadn't have known what to do, I would have thought that hanging a child upside down was probably the right thing to do, to try and get something out of their mouth. If I hadn't done the first aid course, I probably would have called the ambulance straight away, but it was the time that we would have had to wait for the ambulance. If you know what you're doing, that's when the difference between saving someone's life and maybe causing long-term damage can come into play. Having done the course, I now am so confident that if they do anything, and because they are so little and clumsy, I think I'm really ready and I've got the knowledge. Nobody could ever, nobody could bring him back if the worst was to happen. I've saved my son's life. It's the best thing I've ever done.